Welcome to Da Vinci's Discourse, where the minds of today's most innovative entrepreneurs are unveiled and explored. And my name is Kyle Campbell, your guide on this journey into the depths of the entrepreneurial psyche. So sit back, relax, and get ready to dive into the minds of the greats. This is Da Vinci's Discourse.
Wow, that's a broad question, but I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is actually, I'm a parent because that is one of the most important things that I do in life. I have a 12-year-old daughter who's amazing. I love spending time with, and of course, a lot of what I do is focused on hopefully helping her grow up to live a fulfilling and life that creates value for others and that she has well-being in her life. Aside from that, I'm also a partner. I'm a entrepreneur, and as an entrepreneur right now, I work as a business strategist for coaches. I specifically work with coaches who have reached that point where they're doing great work with their clients, but they're feeling limited by their current business model because they realize, hey,
Ah,
I can only just sell my time, so much of my time. And so I need another way to both reach new clients as well as serve new clients at scale. And so that's what I help them do is market, sell, and serve their clients at scale. What I say is like, look, I'm going to help you be able to serve 3 to 10, sometimes even 20 times as many people, but actually cutting your workload down drastically,
mm.
but without sacrificing the amazing results that you still want to deliver to your clients. Um, so that's what I presently do as an entrepreneur. Been, a coach, entrepreneur, content creator, digital marketer for about 20 years now. And what I love most is helping people to uncover their unique genius and communicate it and deliver it to the world in a way that helps them solve the problems and serve the people that they are uniquely positioned to serve in the world. And I think that's a great way to elevate the world and help compound my own impact out there, hopefully as well. And aside from that, I dabble in music. I'm a board game geek. I love space and physics and nerd out on that kind of stuff too. And
Cool.
there's a few details about me. That's Jason Van Horten. Yeah.
I love it, man. I love it. You went some eclectic routes there. Very, very
Yeah,
cool.
and I'm appreciating the Einstein picture there in the yeah. Speaking of physics space nerd, Einstein's definitely a hero. He's a smart dude, or was a smart dude.
No kidding, right? No kidding. I like it because it's got the apparent or the sort of you can perceive it as the contradiction between love and emotion based and then the logic based behind Einstein.
Right,
But I see the two actually being one because the core of physics is I don't know what you want to call it, universe, God, whatever. But they're talking about the same thing. Love and physics to me are one. And so
right.
at the deepest level. So that's why I got it up there. Plus, it's cool because if I'm on a
I like it.
call with a client, I want them to be subconsciously associating me with love or my product with love. And so they're like, I love this. I don't know why. There's something tells me that love is the answer when it comes to buying this right now. And so that's why it's backwards because the unconscious doesn't take into account polarities. So it's interesting.
All right,
Anyways,
love
what I
it.
want to get into with you, man, is a little bit about how we can go about leveraging our time if we're a coach or whatever. But you took it to a different route that I think it would be best to start with, which is first of all identifying your unique ability or your what you can best serve others with. So let's
Yeah,
start with that, and then we'll go into leveraging your time more effectively, being able to have that extra leverage on a one-to-many scale instead of a one-to-one. So first question, how do you know when you're really in that zone of authority and authenticity where you can serve the
yeah,
best?
yeah. Well, it's I think one of the best things we can do just for our own fulfillment and engagement, well-being, growth, and impact in the world is to really get in touch with what we uniquely have to offer in terms of the value we create. Those things that when we do them, we are in a space of just continual growth and creation. There are things that others recognize and appreciate in us. What we, through nature and nurture, have arrived at being able to do certain things that better than I guess the general average, or whatever average means of population. And unfortunately, like so many of us, we easily overlook those things because they feel commonplace to
You're
us.
right. Yeah.
Um, and it can be something as specific as like, hey, I'm really good at teaching, and but even at a more zoomed out level, something I've come to realize over the years that my clients or just people in general appreciate for me is I'm somebody who loves to research, loves to just consume large amounts of information, sift through, find the commonalities, pull out the most important pieces, synthesize or organize it, and then, hand it back to somebody in a very usable way that they can immediately apply to whatever their current goal is. And that's everything from recommending new music to people who love to discover new music, all the way up to like, what's the tool or the strategy or the model they need in their business. Now, as we unfold those things, or to uncover and find those things, we often need feedback from the world around us.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned the phrase unique ability. I don't know if it's because you've read Dan Sullivan's, well, actually,
Yes.
his colleagues, right? That's an excellent book, and I read that many years ago and had a huge impact both on myself as well as how I work with my clients. And it's a great process for uncovering how we show up best in the world. And one of the things he has you do is, I'm sure is to write letters or emails to a number of people in your life asking specific questions to solicit that feedback and look for the common threads so that we can find that confidence and really own those things and go like, oh, okay, so this is the stuff that I have to leverage to really create great value and impact in the world. Now, we can apply that to a number of different professions. I'm sure I happen to be a business coach and consultant. I probably could have applied my skills to maybe being like a theoretical physicist or something and been happy doing that as well. But I chose to, at least at this time in my life, to express it as an entrepreneur because of the freedom and lifestyle it gives me. The point I'm trying to make here is that, the next question in that at any given time, I think we really ask ourselves is like, okay, well, who in the world, at least in terms of my vocation, my profession, my career, do I feel driven or pulled to serve? Who can I
Mm.
create value for? And, any business needs to answer that question first and foremost, because if you're not taking a very client customer centric approach to all the decisions you're making, everything from what the product is you're going to create to your business model to your marketing strategies and so forth, you're going to be scrambling. And a lot, it sounds obvious, but there's so many businesses that don't properly define first who that ideal client or customer is, do good customer discovery to really, um, one of my favorite phrases or quotes about marketing and sales is always enter the conversation already going on in the mind of
Love
the
it.
prospect. And that's a quote from Robert
Yeah.
Collier from like 1930s or
Yeah, the
something.
Robert Collier letter book, man. Hell yeah,
Mhm.
that's what I'm talking about.
And if you can get good at doing that first, like
Yeah.
your marketing is going to stand out, it's going to resonate, your offers are going to land, your sales are going to be so much easier, the serving your clients is going to feel so much more effortless, right? So to bring this back to unique ability, it's about, getting that feedback and continually uncovering, discovering what we really have to offer, and then deciding in the various aspects of our life, and I'm talking, I guess, in terms of business or profession, who do we want to use those things to serve in the world. And I've chosen coaches because I feel an affinity to. I love working with experts, both because for myself, I'm a very curious person who loves discovering all these interesting things that my different clients know about and getting to know that
Yeah.
the ins and outs of what they do in order to help them best communicate their stuff. And then also, like I said, I think that's a great way to make an impact in the world is by empowering these experts, these coaches to better reach and serve the people that they serve best. And so that's why I've chosen, that market and specifically more experienced coaches. For like 10 years, I had a business, a very successful business that served beginning entrepreneurs like stuck in their job, not even like just trying to figure out like, what am I going to do here? How can I get out of here and go my own path? Right. And that was very fulfilling to do. And after about 10 years, I needed to change. I needed to get away from just working with beginners. I needed to get away from being in a, hey, you can make money online and quit your job, because it was kind of turning into a really obnoxious market. And I decided, who I really want to serve next is, it took a year for me to really kind of figure out where I wanted to go next, are the more experienced coaches who have reached that point where they just need help in order to bridge the gap to that next level of income and impact. Kind of all over the place, but to sum it all and bring it back, it's about finding those skills, that unique ability, and choosing that audience that we want to serve. And if you first like nail that down, okay, now through proper research, you can figure out, okay, this is what the offer needs to be. This is what the messaging needs to be. This is what the marketing channels need to be. This is, and so on and so forth.
Beautiful, dude. Yeah, when it comes to the unique ability, one of the things you said is you don't realize that it's unique to you or that you're skilled in it because it seems commonplace, which is fascinating. That's why you need that external feedback. Very, very cool. You talk about entering the conversation that's going on in their heads. How do you get the data? Because you said to research that once you have the unique ability to pair it up with the marketplace, how do you know what's in their head so that you can enter that conversation? What are some of the
Yeah.
researching tools that you use? How do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's different ways to gather that information, to gather, what I would call customer insights. One of my favorite and most powerful, and one that I help my clients to do, no matter what we're working on, usually we're doing some of this, is to have conversations with people who fit the profile of our intended client, our intended customer. You can run surveys, you can go out and do kind of like secondary research or see what people are saying online. I mean, that's also helpful, going into forums, going to Reddit, into the niche communities that have popped up there, or Quora. You can do a lot of that, and that's certainly a good place to start. But ultimately, what I tell my clients is, if we're going to design a new offer or new marketing messaging, or they're trying to decide where to steer their business next, is we'll go find, to begin with, 6 to 10 people who fit that ideal client profile, um, who are, actively right now looking for the kind of support, the kind of outcomes, support to reach certain outcomes that my client can help with, and ask just really good open-ended questions. You don't go to them and say,
Mm.
"Hey, I'm thinking about this course, and it's going to be 6 weeks long, and with it, like that's, or I have this product, and these are the features. What do you think?" Because you're going to get skewed data. They don't know how to answer that.
It's
Often they don't
biased.
know what they want or need.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like, kind of like the Ford quote. I think it's Ford, where it's like, "Hey, if I asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses, and really the car is what
Right.
solved the problem." But nobody knew to like ask for a car. I'm not saying you have to innovate the next iPhone or car or whatever, but um, you ask them, it's like, hey, when it comes to this area that you help them, you frame it for them. When it comes to growing your coaching business, when it comes to improving your health and energy, day to day, when it comes to, whatever that is, that area, ask them, what are some of the things that you find the most challenging? Share with me the last time you ran into one of those challenges. What solutions did you try? What specifically is frustrating about it? What do you think is holding you back from those outcomes that you want? And all these open-ended questions then allow us as the expert to kind of look at it like we're reading the tea leaves. Essentially, we've got the expertise to be able to look at that and go like, okay, I can see what they're saying they want, what they think they need. They're a little bit wrong there, but I'm seeing these other missing pieces here based on what I'm seeing in the market. Here's something I could offer that would be, a good solution for this segment of the market that I would really like to serve. And so, when you extract that language, you do a much better job. I mean, we don't want to waste time putting an offer out there just to find that it falls flat. Like, we don't have a lot of time and energy, especially as bootstrapping entrepreneurs and coaches trying to grow our business. We want to get it as close as we can when we're testing and iterating and putting new things out there. So gathering that information, looking for the through lines in the language, even using the specific language that they use to express their desired outcomes, their obstacles, et cetera, in our marketing, because then your marketing becomes not only relevant, meaning it addresses a top of mind issue that they're actively looking for help with and will respond to. You're not trying to talk anybody into the fact that they have a problem that they don't know that they have, right? That's an uphill battle. But it's also resonant in that it's like,
Resonant. Yes,
right here in
exactly.
my brain, feels like, and there's something about the way and not that we're just trying to manipulate people. Like, we want to like basically show, hey, I empathize, I understand, I know where you're at, I know what you want to do, and I know what you're struggling with. And, through good marketing and storytelling, have them go like, oh yeah, you really get it. And then start bringing in some of the new perspective, or like, hey, here's another way to maybe get to what it is that you are looking for. Do you want this outcome, but you've been worried about this thing, or facing this thing, or tired of hearing this thing? What if I have another way? And that's your, to bring in more, old school marketing stuff. That's your unique mechanism, that it's like, okay, I've got this way that you might not have heard of before, and that resonates. So these are what I'm going into here, what I call the 3 R's. relevance, resonance, and remarkability. It's like relevant to that top of mind need or desire, resonant in terms of the language you use, the values that you share with your intended, and you're demonstrating. It's like, hey, I know I know where you're at, and but also like the way you want to go about and why you want to reach these things. And the remarkability is, and here's what's different about the approach that I want to share with you and why you should consider doing this, despite whatever past failures you've had, despite whatever other experts have let you down, despite whatever concerns of costs or risks or fears that you have that have been keeping you stuck. You're giving them that new hope of like, oh, okay, maybe it is time to move forward, and this might be the person to help me. Um, I kind of went all over the little place there, but hopefully I offered some of what
No,
you're
you
looking
did.
for.
You tied it together in a beautiful way. Seriously. I love it. I love the way of getting feedback and then basing your marketing instead of starting the testing from a blank slate. It gives you an idea of what to test because you know their pain points, you know what they need to hear, what they're talking about, what they're struggling with in that specific area you're trying to help them with. And then, like you said, you can enter that conversation and say, are you experiencing this, but then having a problem with that? Because you notice that of all the questions that you asked, you're finding a pattern. And one of the ways I like to do it is, and this is classic, I mean, using Amazon reviews, YouTube comments, finding the places where your audience is already hanging out. It's almost trite at this point, but one of the twists that I have on it is just copying, filling up a Word document with all the data you can find, and then pasting it all into AI and say, look for the patterns. What pains are they
Yeah,
struggling? What keeps them up at night? What pisses them off? If you can, and so you throw that into the AI, and it gives you all the data, and then
yeah,
it's already got it internally, and so it does all that sorting for you. Because somebody might object and say, "Well, how do I contact the 7 people? It's hard to get people on the phone to give something to you as opposed to get something." And so, if you wanted to, one of the ways you could do it is do it that route. Let's take it back a step though, because
yeah, absolutely.
how do you know what your target audience is? How do you know who would resonate with your product the most to be able to get that feedback from? You get what I mean? Let's say you got a
Yeah,
product. How do you
so
know who's the best person to buy it?
yeah, I mean, I always tell people that like your business model and your strategy needs to be this Venn diagram. If you imagine two circles, and one of the circles is like your unique ability, the lifestyle you want to have, the kind of vision you have of the legacy you want to leave, or what fulfills you, what you want your career to look like, the opportunities you want to have, what you want to be recognized for, etc. And who you like associating with, who you get excited to like help or talk to or collaborate with, right?
Yeah,
And then in the
yeah,
other circle is your intended audience or ideal client. So what I'm hearing you ask is like, how do you like narrow that circle in? And at first, like you get to decide, and then you want to populate it with the information like we were talking about by doing
right.
the conversations, the research, looking online at what people are saying. But at first, like you make the decision. What I tell it kind of depends if someone's starting brand new from scratch or if they're like partway through their business and just realizing, hey, I need to tighten things up here if I want to go to the next level. Because coaches can be successful for a few years, but still kind of be serving a variety of people because they're just saying yes to whoever comes along that they can help. And that's one of the reasons that they're having a hard time scaling is because they've got too many offers, too many different messaging things that they're trying to put out there. And so whether you're right at the beginning or you've got some experience working with a variety of people, you need to ask yourself like questions like, yeah, who would I be the most excited to work with? Or if you've had a bunch of clients you've worked with over the few years or so, like ask yourself, make a list. Who are the top 10 people that I've enjoyed working with? And it was just like it felt like ease and we got great results for them and it was
Mm,
just collaborative. I enjoyed every minute of it. And then make a list of like who are the top 10 that paid me the most willingly and easily, and
yeah.
look at the commonalities in there as one way to start dialing in, what the perimeter of that circle. Um, and so yeah, you decide. And I usually say, hey, it's based on your personal fulfillment, who you feel drawn to, who you feel an affinity for. It always helps if you already have some understanding of that audience. So often, at least with coaches, it's they want to serve a past version of themselves, which helps. Um, but you don't have to in any business. You could choose a new audience that you just see an opportunity and you're excited by the opportunity, and you'll go figure out who those people are and what they need. But like you feel drawn, like if you're going to do all this research and do the testing and try to serve this audience in terms of whether it's as a coach or another business, you better actually enjoy talking to them and
Shit.
iterating on
Yeah.
solutions, right? So And then you might ask yourself, like, who do I have access to the most easily? I tell people to be careful of that because sometimes they get drawn to an audience because, like, oh, that feels the easiest for me to get my hands on some clients, but it's not ultimately who they really want to serve. So also think long term too, like who could I see myself still enjoying working with in a few years from now, several years from now. Um, and so you kind of narrow that in. If you're feeling really stuck and you're earlier on in a business and you don't have those two lists you can make, well, that's where customer discovery can help as well. Go do some research or come up with kind of like two or three different ideas. Go do research for each of them and have conversations if you can with people in each of those profiles and see where you get the most excited. See who when you're in a conversation, you're going like, oh yeah, I can totally help them with that. And you're starting to get ideas, and that can guide you to narrow in that circle and then just go deeper in your customer discovery with that particular audience.
Beauty, dude. Yeah, I love the visual. I love how you start at the perimeter and then you start to work your way in, kind of like a bullseye, right? And eventually you
Right.
find the bullseye and then you throw the dart, bam, every time. So you know that's the kind of client. Then you can layer in your or laser target your marketing based on that individual. And so they know it's for them while turning away all the other ones that would be a pain in the ass to work with. We've all had clients that are like, dude, if only you just shut up right now, you'd have way better results. Just listen. So you don't want to work with those people. You find the people that are in that bullseye and you can work your way there over time with experimentation and finding what works, what's resonant,
Yeah.
and who you relate with the most. It's interesting,
And,
man.
and you can always shift. You're not like fixed on something just because you decided that's it. Like, look, markets change, you change, people change. So you can always adjust or sidestep or, as you establish your brand, you see this all the time. People start really niche because they want to get a foothold and stand out. And then as their brand gets more established, they can actually broaden and still be just fine bringing in clients who want to work with them. I mean, maybe an easy example would be like a Tim Ferriss or something, right? Like he's just a brand now, and he could write
Yeah,
a book about just about anything, and there are
yeah,
dudes
yeah.
all over
Throw
America who'd
four
be like,
hour
"Yeah,
in
I'll
front of
buy the
it, and now
book,"
it's the yeah, exactly. Now it's the 4 hour rock climbing guide. Yeah, exactly.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, dude. So let's move into the coaching realm of it because let's say we've got the niche and we've got a coaching business, and people are successful, we're finding that bullseye. How do we go about really shifting from the one-to-one to the one-to-many? What do you tell people to do to have that if they're fully booked up? Is it a course? Is it a one-to-many group coaching program? What do you typically recommend to people?
yeah. So there's a few things you need. And one of the most important steps, which I think coaches and expert-based businesses should be doing, even if they're working primarily one-on-one, is you need to, okay, so you've defined your ideal client profile,
Yeah.
figured out like that very specific one or two like core desired outcomes. So that's another thing is like we need to tighten those things up. And if you're all over with different ideal client profiles, if you're delivering a huge variety of like, nope, we got to get it down to like, this is who I serve. And these are the one or two outcomes that I consistently
Right. Of
deliver. I mean, there's sub outcomes underneath that and stuff, right? But like I said
course.
at the
Yeah.
beginning of this interview, I help those coaches get to that 3, 5, 10, 20 times as many clients that they can serve, cutting their time in half without sacrificing results, right? So like that's the outcome that I'm always focused on delivering for coaches who are already established, doing great work, but are ready to go to the next level. Okay, so once you've got those two things, it's like, okay, well, you need to figure out what is your unique process or approach for bringing them where they're at over the obstacles are in their way to where they want to go. And bit by bit, you arrive at what I call your signature method. If you look at like, I mean, like actually, this is something I learned from Dan Sullivan and in his program. Like everything he does are these amazing frameworks and signature
Yeah.
methods. Like he has that a signature. Well, it's his team that came up with it. That unique ability is like a signature method for uncovering your strengths and applying it in the world as in your business and personal life. So, what is your signature method? And this needs to be something that's spelled out. It's organized. You've got like Donald Miller's story brand, for instance. You've got, I mean, you can look at all kinds of like Simon Sinek has his like his process for I can't remember what it's called, but for like figuring out your why to apply in your
Yeah.
business. And the
Hmm.
reason for that you need to have that first is because that's what allows you to organize and operationalize delivering value at scale to your clients. So in the same way that if you want to scale your business, you got to be ready to get some things off your plate and delegate them and streamline and automate and create procedures. Expert-based businesses forget to do that with their IP. And so by spelling out your signature method and branding it, not only you standing out, but now you can take that signature method and easily slice and dice it or encapsulate it in different offers.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the podcast, and I want to let you know that I've got a free book that you can get if you want to tap into more of these resources. And you can get that for free at kylesbook.com. Back to the podcast.
So that's the modules of a course or program. That's the steps or the pillars, the foundation of the process you do with each client. Once you've got that, then it gets much easier to you gotta wrap it in a scalable offer. So often with my clients, it does look like some kind of group program. Um, most of my clients are offering like high level group coaching programs where they're working with 10 or 20 clients or 30, 40, depending on what it is, at a time, as opposed to just a few. That can take different forms. But so you got your signature method, you got your scalable offer that you've got to figure out. Now, the next step though, once you've done those two things, is now you've got to change your marketing and sales to be at scale as well, because a lot of
Yeah.
coaches can do really well being known within their network as an expert on whatever thing and getting referrals now and again and just networking and bumping into enough people that they've got their clientele. But if you've got a group program now that you want to fill with multiple, many times more the clients, you got to be able to reach people more at scale. And it can't be this like really like kind of like onesie, twosie, one-on-one like way of bringing people in. You need to be able to have what I call, instead of just network level authority and recognition, it's got to be audience level authority and recognition. So we got to look at what marketing channels are you using to reach people at scale. A lot of coaches aren't actually working on building an audience like they should, and that includes like an email list and knowing how to approach and use your social media following in a way to continually identify and bring in the people who are ready in your orbit, in your audience right now. So we're looking at setting up better marketing systems. That usually means they got to be more consistent at their marketing, whether that's paid, organic, or partnership, or some combination of those things. And then we've got to go, make it so that they're able to sell more at scale as well. Now, often they're still selling by phone because it's high ticket stuff, and you still got to get it on the phone with people to say yes. But you got to get more efficient. You got to have a customer journey that does most of the heavy lifting before they get on the phone with you. You got to have a customer journey that consists of a series of invitations, calls to action, and filters to filter the people out,
Yeah.
such that
Right.
when you do finally get on the phone with people, there's a pretty decent chance that they're the right person, or that pretty quickly you can find out if it's not quite the right time. It's like, okay, great, you're going on my hot list. We'll keep in touch. Here's some stuff you can try, and then move on to focusing most of your attention on that hot list of people that right now they are really indicating that they're the person who's ready. So it might be worth spending 30 minutes or an hour on the phone with them, bringing them to that point of saying, yes, I need to do this. Let's sign up now. Let's go. Um, so those are the areas that need to be looked at, and where new systems need to be put in place to be able to market, sell, and serve at scale.
Beauty, dude. So let's say that I'm a coach. I want to either consider doing a course or doing a one-to-many group coaching program. How do I know which one to choose based on what I'm up to?
Yeah. So really, you can kind of put all, whether it's a membership or a digital course or a group program, it kind of all falls on a continuum, on a spectrum. And at the one end is the really high level, more customized. They're getting direct access to you, probably more of your time, and that's what a lot of coaches are offering, is that kind of a thing, hopefully at an appropriate price. All the way at the other end is a digital course or something, a tool that they buy. You may never actually interact with them before they do, and hopefully that can get them the result that they want on their own. And then there's all kinds of combination in between and the
Hmm.
variables that you're tweaking is, how do they get access and support, access to you or support from you or team members? How do they get access or support with each other? And how do they access the information, the training, and the tools that you're providing for them? And the different ways that the different dials that you set for those kind of place it along that spectrum to arrive at that balance of providing an experience that delivers results and the support that people need to get to the promised outcomes, while not overloading your own resources or compromising, the lifestyle and career that you want to build for yourself. So to come back more to your question, um, with most of my clients who come and approach me, I steer them away from digital courses unless it's like, well, yeah, like, I'm not usually I'm not going to help them with the digital course because for one, they're probably selling it at a price point that doesn't make sense to get an ROI off of what they're paying me to help them. So, whereas with a group coaching program, we're still charging enough of a premium that the math works out for them to hire me and help them launch that and fill it. Um, and then there's also the fact that a lot of digital courses just fail people. I mean, I know that online digital courses have been
Yeah,
this
no
like huge
shit.
opportunity that's been touted for years. And the truth is like a lot of them have not been good. A lot of them have been
Right,
made by
right.
marketers who know how to market and don't know
Yeah,
how to make
exactly.
a course that actually delivers results. And you end up with a lot of frustrated people out there. Now, it might be different if it's like, hey, do you want to buy my specific course on like how to, quickly tweak your LinkedIn profile or something like that? Sure, right? And then someone else is at the end of the spectrum offering the I'll write it for you service, right? You could maybe have a course that just like walks somebody through some worksheets and they've got a good profile. But I wouldn't want to hand a digital course to someone to help them launch a group program. I just don't think that they're going to get the feedback, the insights, the nuances, the support and help that they need to arrive at a successful outcome. And so that's why I usually steer people somewhere in the middle. And I'm just helping them make the appropriate decisions
Mm.
about access to them and their team, access to each other between the clients and the tools and the training and the feature set such that it is that nice balance of not overtaxing the resources, not compromising their desired career or lifestyle, and still giving an exceptional customer experience and delivering results, assuming that people really engage with the process and do the work. The one more thing I'll say is a lot of people get pulled towards like subscription or membership, and that has a place, but so often the way that that is sold as this passive income, monthly, recurring, I won't have to worry and bringing in clients so much, so that would be perfect. It's a like no matter what your offer is, there's always going to be churn. You're always going to have to be bringing new people in. People will sign up for your membership, and you'll be surprised to find out the average lifetime member is like a lifetime of a member is 4 or 5 months. Some stay for two, some stay for one, some stay for 2 years, but the average is going to be around 4 or 5 months until you really dial it in above that. And so they end up being really disappointed that they're like selling at this $100 a month thing and now struggling to keep that offer full where they would have been better off just having an evergreen program at $5,000 for however much, time and just, continually feeling that instead. And you offer a payment plan
Mm.
and people can still split that $5,000 up and you're still getting money in the bank every month, but you're a lot more in control of the commitment people are making at the beginning, and better off. So those are some of the considerations and things that I talk to my clients about when we're deciding which one to go with. Um, but the bottom line there is too, like it's less about, like I said, a subscription or a digital it's more about like finding where on that continuum you fall by just adjusting the right dials to get that perfect mix based on all the different parameters that are important.
Mm. You're a brilliant dude, man. The way you explain these things is like, wow, bang, pinpoint, pinpoint, pinpoint. You're on point with everything that you're talking about. I love it. The question is, and
I
I feel like
appreciate
this is my pleasure, man. I feel like this is a question that a lot of people would have if they were thinking about transitioning from consulting or coaching to some sort of a group process, because there's usually a community involved. Like you said, the interaction between the clients. So if somebody were to go about doing it, somebody might say, well, I'm not able to get 5 or 6 people into the community at once. So the first person to get in there is going to be awkward for that, it's weird. I sold them a community, but then there's only a couple people in it.
Yeah.
How do you really start to get that initial momentum going, being
Yeah.
able to not have that initial kind of hesitancy or worry that it's not a community that you sold them?
Yeah, this is an excellent question, one that comes up a lot and one that I think about a lot because every one of my clients ends up typically asking this question, unless, some of them they have enough of an email list that
Right.
or enough of a following that when we put out there, it's like, hey, I've got this new way to work with me at a cheaper price and more capacity. Who's in that they can fill it, no problem. But there are plenty of people. It's like, yeah, like I said, they're at that network level of experience. They haven't necessarily been building their list, and now they've got to transition into that. And so, um, there's a few things that you can do, and it's usually a mix and match of things. Um, First of all, you might have to go through a period of just having a few people in there. And yes, it might be stronger or better if you had, 8 or 10 or 12 people instead of 3 or 4. I've also seen some very good pilot programs that just have a couple people in there and they know that they're in on the ground level of something and that they're getting to kind of co-build this thing with you and really give feedback on what they want and need. And they love having that opportunity. And you're just
Yeah.
straightforward, like, hey, I'm launching a pilot here. This is an
Yeah.
opportunity to be a part of that pilot. So that's one thing is you frame it as a pilot when you launch
The
it.
benefit.
Now,
Yeah. Mm.
that said, sometimes you can bring one-on-one clients in to seed it. I've done that before. And I don't
Yeah.
even not even necessarily charging them something extra. It's like, hey, how would you like to also be part of like we're already doing this work, but this would be an additional source of support, camaraderie, would you be interested in being a part of that? And I've done that before where, I'll have 10 people and 2 of them are one-on-one clients that have raised their hand and said, yeah, I'd love to be a part of that. Another thing that I'll do is sometimes I'll go back to past clients and say,
Yeah.
hey, for this, lower price or even sometimes for free, just because it's like, hey, I want to get this going. I want to get the feedback. I want the early success stories. I do have some people paying. I would just like to have a few more to flesh it out and have more feedback. Sometimes it's worth your while to go ahead and give some scholarships away, a half price scholarship, full price. You don't necessarily, advertise that broadly, though you could with specific parameters if you want. But sometimes here's what I'll do is I'll go to a colleague who I know has great clients or a great audience that's similar to the one I want to reach, but they offer something different. And I'll say, hey, I've got this great new program that's going. I'd really like to flesh it out with just 1 or 2 really quality people. You've got great people in your crowd. Here's who I'm looking
Yes.
for. What I'd
Mm.
love to do is gift you a spot to gift to somebody to bring into my
Oh.
program. And that's doing a
Mm.
few things. Number one, if you choose the person right, you're going to get some high quality people that get invited in. Number two, you're adding a huge gift to that person, and they get to look good to their
Yeah.
client,
Hell
right?
yeah.
So
Definitely.
they're getting some social capital and cred. Plus,
Yes.
that
Mm.
person is really grateful to have the opportunity as well. Um, and I've had that turn out really well. I know some people get concerned. It's like, well, if somebody's not paying, they don't take it seriously. Well, I find that usually when you go that route, the person ends up
Yeah.
taking it seriously because they've been vetted and chosen by this person. And everybody in the ecosystem doesn't want to like let the other person down by being the person that just doesn't take it
Right.
serious, right?
Yeah.
I've
Mm.
had clients I got that way that then later end up to go on be successful with their course, and then now they're inviting me in because like now they like, hey, I'm so grateful for how you got me started as that
Huh.
scholarship member, and they're inviting me into their program all the time to come and teach or bringing opportunities to me. So that's another thing that you can do. Sometimes, let's say I've talked to, I've done 30 calls and we've got 8 people that have signed up, and I'd like to get 2 more, and I might look at the the other ones and go, okay, who else felt like they would be a really good fit? Clearly, they just don't have the funds right now, but I really believe in what they're doing. And I'll go back to them and say, hey, I like what you're doing. I would love to help you take that next step with this. And I'm happy to offer you a scholarship. And again, it could be some percentage, it could be totally free, or sometimes I'll say, like, what do you feel like you can pay? And don't worry about offending me. I just want you to like, what do you feel like you can pay? And that way you've got a little skin in the game, but I just would really like to, and I choose someone I know that would contribute well to the
Right.
group
Yeah.
and
That's
round
an
it
excellent
out
point.
well.
Yeah.
So, that's just a handful of things. And there, I'm sure I could come up with more if I thought about that I've used, but there are a lot of, by pulling from these different things, like you can end up filling out that course. And it's just recognizing it's like, yeah, as much as we'd all love to just fill that first pilot program at absolute top price and have it be a standout success, when you start that first pilot, it's also an investment. Yes, you deserve to get paid cash. No, you don't have to totally discount it for everybody, but there's this balance of making cash, but also just getting it going, getting success stories, getting feedback, testing it out to see that it's a good program to turn it into its more official form. And that's worth sometimes giving just the same as with one-on-one coaches when they're getting started. Often they have to be like, hey, I'll work with you at a lower rate. I'll work with you for free. I just need the experience. I need the success story. I need the feedback and the input. So you pull from these different things, you keep that mindset, and you can work it out.
It's beauty, dude. You got some beauty strategies there. Seriously, three or four that you just listed off. That is, I mean, it's an answer to the question that a lot of people have when they go into it. I especially like the one where you give them a gift to somebody to give away to somebody else.
Yeah.
It's a orchestrating referrals is what Dean Jackson calls it,
Yeah.
where he'll give somebody a book to give away to somebody else, and he creates a referral out of that. He'll set it up and say, when you hear somebody talking about this, give them my book, or
Yeah.
to think of a couple people that would benefit from this and give them my book. They look good because they gave a free gift that they didn't have to pay for, and you're
Right.
getting
Yeah.
your clients or whoever it might be to bring people into you.
Hmm.
And then with the coaching thing, yeah, on the one-to-one basis, where my mind went was joint ventures, partnerships, where you can go and say, I'll do the coaching for the first 10 people for free. If only and only if all 10 of them give me a 5-star rating, then maybe we can continue with being your coach and you can get access to their target audience like that. You make a brilliant offer like that to somebody, there are going to be
Yeah.
a lot of list owners that say, okay, perfect, let's see what you can do. Same thing for turning it into a course, or getting that one-to-many basis
Yeah.
to get that the community kicked off originally to start with. You could have a launch to somebody whose list, if you don't have a list, so launch it to somebody else's list and be able to load it up that way. And you can even
Yeah.
tell the list owner you can have 100% of the profits. What I need is to start filling this community up. And then once you've got that, then you've got the proof, the testimonials, and what you need to be able to, and the data on the audience to be able to then market and then get paying clients and into it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool, man. One objection that
Great
comes
ideas.
up, yeah, I love it, man. But then there's this that comes up, and it's, well, if I let some people in for 10 grand, but then if I've got eight and I need two more, then I give the other people a scholarship, which is a good way of putting that. I like it. Is it, how do you look at the ethics of, because like, I don't know, I'm playing the devil's advocate. All these people pay 10 grand, and then you offer some people in for 2 grand because that's what they said they're comfortable with. What do you say to the person who says that?
Well, first of all, nobody ever says anything, or even like it's never been an issue for
Because it's
me.
because like you can see how it'd be a worry of somebody like, oh shit, what if the rest of the people found out that this person only paid 2 grand? And so there's like, so how do you look at that whole
I've never
dynamic?
had it happen, but what I've told clients who have had this concern, I'm like, look, like you get to choose if people get scholarships. You just say like, yeah, I had a couple of scholarships and I offered it to somebody, and they're probably gonna be like, hey, that's cool. You're a decent person, and then like that's awesome
Oh,
that um and so that's the one thing in terms of like ethics. I don't, yeah, I don't have any ethical. I'm always open to hearing whatever arguments of somebody else, but like, look, you could take five people who all bought the same car and none of them paid the same price,
true.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you can go to a open air market where people are selling their goods and different people might negotiate different prices for the stuff. So, just so like you have no obligation to somebody who's paid you X price that's what you've charged everybody else as well. And sometimes I have clients, I'm like, look, charge this for the first couple of people to get them in the door and get your confidence up and going, and then with each person raise it a little bit because that's what you deserve to get paid. And I don't have any problem with that. It's never been an issue.
Perfect. Yeah, no, fair enough. Okay, I just wanted to get it out there, and I don't look
Yeah,
at it as an
it's a
ethical
good
issue.
question.
I mean, like I'm just trying to think of what people would object to this because I love where you're going with it. It's just like
Yeah,
getting it started is tricky, and so
right.
it's just that initial little bit. And you see the pattern coming up with like school groups, for example. The community aspect of courses is shifting more to the community as opposed to the information. Because I mean, the consumption rate on a digital course is dismal. It's like 4% on average that people will go through the course. But the community is something that is integral and increasingly important. Especially now, we all crave to be a part of something. It's an identity play. We want to be X identity. Like a doctor is prestigious in our society. So by being a doctor, it's the same thing. Being in this group, maybe with a label, you're a part of something bigger than you, and we all want to have that feeling. What about
Mhm.
pricing, man? If you're going to be taking a program, let's say you do one-on-one coaching or consulting for, let's say, 10 grand a year or something like that. How do you look at pricing it when you start to move it into a community aspect?
Mhm. Yeah. So I mean, as with many of my answers, like there's some variables to look at. There's no like one clean
Doesn't
answer.
surprise me, man. You're like, you know, the background with all the numbers, like in The Hangover, when the dude with the beard was counting cards, and you see the numbers in the background. It's like
Right.
that's what I see going on in your head right now. Every answer that you give. So please
I
give me
like
some
that
variables.
analogy. I'm gonna have
What's
to
up?
I'm gonna have to make an AI image of myself with that. That would be
Yeah, no shit. Like the Matrix in the background. I can see it. It's just
yeah.
computing, dude. So what are the variables? Come on.
Yeah. So obviously it still needs to work out. And I tell all my clients, even though I tell them, do not charge based on time, charge based on value, whether you're one-on-one or group, right? So keep that in mind. That said, I do tell my clients to have in their head, like, here's what I like my monthly amount or value to fall at. I think most coaches could tell you, like, I like to be a $3,000 a month coach, or 5,000, or 1,000, whatever. Um, and also have an hourly thing in mind. Now, you'll do your best estimates of like what you think it's going to take in terms of the time input for each of the people in the group. And this is one thing that I help my clients to estimate because they won't know until they really kind of get in and have some experience doing it. And I do my best to offer my, experience with it as well. And so that's the first thing you need to keep in mind is that I totally forgot where I was going with that. It's like all the things back here
All
just
the,
suddenly
yeah,
like
then there's a poof in one area, and
okay,
there's all
so
the rest
yeah,
of it in a
variables and
blank
pricing.
spot.
So yeah, you want it to make sense for you. So if you like, quick spreadsheet or whatever, you see like, hey, I think I'm gonna have to spend, approximately on average, I have to be on this call and this call, and then maybe outside of the calls, I'll need a couple hours a week for clients. Like you want the numbers to make sure that it works out. Another variable is, the usual thing of like, well, whatever somebody's paying to get access, like what is the value of that thing that they're getting out of it. Now, different people use different multiples. You often hear it's like, well, you want it to deliver, you want to be able to deliver 3 times or 10 times the value that somebody's paid you. I think it depends on the niche and the audience and different things, but you want there to
Times
be a clear ROI, so that's something you're considering as well. Price positioning and anchoring off of each other, meaning like, if people look at, okay, what would it cost to work with you one-on-one? $15,000. Okay. What does it cost to work with you through the group program? Okay, 4,000. Okay. Now, and like, so that
Yeah. Yeah,
that
yeah,
was a little bit
yeah.
arbitrary in the example, but there's sometimes psychology there in terms of the positioning of the different and then some of the usual pricing things too. Don't price it so low because sometimes people they're like, oh, I need to bring this down so it's more affordable now in the group, and they're not getting as much of my time. But also, if you go too low, you still got the problem of like with any pricing that it can compromise the apparent value, the perceived
Yeah,
value,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know, to give you an idea, a couple of my programs, like people pay $1,000 a month to be in, but they're, my one-on-one depends on what form it takes. And I only do a limited amount, but you're probably looking at your one-on-one being 3 to 5 times as much per month as your group. I mean, that's a totally rough kind of like guideline. Like I don't want anybody using that as a fast rule because I would need to know your specific circumstances and things. But here are the mistakes is like do not attach price to the amount of information.
Yeah. Mm.
Um, because it's yeah, like people think it's like, okay, if I give them more videos, I can charge more. It's like, no, that's not how. In fact, if you could get
Maybe you could
somebody
charge less because it's
5,000,
time consuming for them, right? Yeah.
right? If you could give somebody a $5,000 result in 5 minutes, they're going to be thrilled. Like they're like, great. Like, I sometimes tell the story of doing a VIP day with a client. They paid me $5,000 for a few hours, walked out with one sheet of paper. That one sheet of paper was worth more than $5,000 to them, right? Um, so don't make that mistake. The value it's in the support. It's in you're giving them the action steps. You're giving them support they need. You're giving them hopefully some really good tools that, whether that's templates or worksheets or examples or whatever that cut down the friction and make the process easier for them. And I don't know. So those are some of the things to consider. Again, not a like totally pat answer, but those are some of the things you want to be thinking about.
Perfect. And what I've been doing is just kind of going through the typical questions that somebody would have when it comes
Yeah,
to
these are great
making a
questions, and they're
transition.
definitely the ones that I get asked a lot. So
Right,
you're doing a good
exactly. So
job.
that's my final question for you. What's the typical question that people generally ask? And we'll end it with that.
Um, the typical another question that people ask me
When it comes to
when they're
shifting from one-on-one to group or course.
yeah. So um, sometimes they're not sure. Okay, here's some of the other concerns that people. So the things that keep them from launching a group program. You've asked the one about like I don't have enough people to fill it. You've asked the one about um, they're not sure what to charge for it. One that a lot of people get hung up on is, okay, what platform should I use? Should I use Thinkific? Should I use Experience? If I like what's the best one? Like that's not the question to be asking right now. In fact, the first time you launch it, don't even worry about it. Like launch as a pilot using tools that you already have access to and know how to use. Like I've launched pilots, most of my pilots are like Zoom, a Google Drive folder that I'm sharing with the students, and email,
Yeah.
right? And I'm recording the Zoom calls and putting them in the folder, and Google Docs, are all the for the tools and templates and things like that. Um, and that's it. Like, so let's keep it simple. So that's one question that gets asked that doesn't need to be, and that removes the friction of like, oh, the tech's going to be a pain. The tech, I have to, like the whole learning curve. I got to hire somebody to set it up. It's like, nope, don't even worry about. Like, let's make sure you actually have a good program before you start
Yeah.
investing
Mm.
in that. So that's one big one that gets asked as well. And then the other one's like, I don't want to put a whole bunch of time into creating a program just to find out that I missed the mark. And because there are people who like record all of this content and like I made a
Yeah.
whole course and then nobody bought and I wasted my time. It's like there's a lot of reasons why that might be, but number one, like you shouldn't have created all that content before launching the course. Like sell it first and then create it.
Yes.
That's the
Yeah.
whole thing of like launch a pilot first. Um, as long as you can say, this is who it's for, these are the outcomes it's going to get you. These are in general the steps we're going to go through and the deliverables, if you will, that you're going to get out of this. They don't need to know like every module in detail. And like, as long as you have, this goes back to signature method. As long as it's like, well, here's my process with one-on-one, and I'm going to transition this over to a group. You can make the first slide deck or module you need for the first call, and then just, use that as a fire underneath you to keep up and create it as you go, responding in that feedback loop with your students, your clients, as to what they need more of or what might be missing or where they're confused. And so that way you're selling it before you invest a whole lot of time. Let's minimum viable product, get it to the market as fast as you can. Um, and you're not wasting time creating a bunch of stuff just to find out it wasn't needed or just to find out that you just had the wrong idea to begin with. The whole foundation of the thing wasn't good. So that's another big one that comes up.
Yeah, and then it's a better program at the end of the day because you got the feedback directly. It gives you marketing materials, you got the questions that they asked, you answer those in real time, and then you're able to have that interactive experience for those people. And then you can take that
Yeah.
feedback, turn it into the evergreen course or the program, and you've got that community started at that point too. So
Yeah.
man, I love it. We went through kind of the step-by-step process of transitioning from a one-to-one coach to a one-to-many consultant, group coaching or course, whatever it might be. How do you know
Yeah.
which one is right for you and what you do, and then how to actually go about doing it step by step? I love it, man. Anything else you want to add before we kick this off?
Um, I mean, I would just say, I guess the other thing that people wonder is like, well, when is the time that I should do this? And it's going to vary, but like a lot of times, if you're feeling pulled between trying to serve your clients well and you're never finding enough time for marketing and selling the way you should to keep your pipeline full, or you're maxed out on the number of clients but you're like, I'm not making the impact and income that I want, those are obviously good indicators. Ideally you're thinking ahead of these things and not necessarily hitting the ceiling and then having to, but that happens sometimes too. But what I tell people is like, look, if you know how to serve your client, who your clients are, how to serve them well and give some dependable results, you have everything you need to transition into this. It's not like there's a whole new skill set that you've got to learn. It's not like there's a whole bunch of new tools and resources you got to learn. Like, you might as well go for it and open up the capacity to market and sell and serve, right? So, and that's one of the fastest ways to then feel like you do have the time to put more into your proper audience building and marketing and sales increase your capacity to serve with far less of your time, and now you've got more time to put over here. So I guess that's the last thing that I would add on.
Beautiful, man. I love it. Now you've got everything out there onto the internet. Now you can go be a physicist and automate this part of it. So there you
Right.
go. I
Totally.
love it, man. Dude, thank you so much, Jason. I had a blast with you, man. And we'll keep in touch, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle. It was a blast.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that podcast episode. And if you want to get a free copy of my book, go to kylesbook.com and you can get a copy there. I'll talk with you soon.